Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to Edgewater Speedway as it lays host to the RTG Rolling Thunder Gaming All-Star Race Speedway style. Getting ready for 140 laps under the lights here tonight. Packed field here this evening as well. A lot of big names in tonight's All-Star Race grid. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Jessica Shelton, and Jess, both you and I took the opportunity here to take to the track for a couple of laps. It's the All-Star Race with no points on the line, but what are some of the difficulties these drivers have to face this evening?
Oh boy, well, you and I both know that the right front tire is going to be a huge issue, especially after coming out 10, because it's going to really start to degrade. We got 3 times wear on, which basically not only are they going to be looking at their fuel, but mainly it's more of a tire eater than more of a fuel issue from what I can tell tonight. But one other thing we got to look at is realistic damage. So in this case, you really have to take care of your car all the way through all 140 laps. And we've checked that pit road. That pit road, 45 miles an hour, doesn't seem too bad to get down at that speed. But there's no barrier in case of any issues or a spin on the track going down to the pit road or from pit road going up into the racetrack. Nothing to separate pit road from the racetrack. It's just going to be chaotic if something bad happens.
And you'll notice that the drivers here tonight, they're running the Xfinity mod, but bear in mind it's CTS physics, and you mentioned about that realistic damage. The last thing you want to do is have your car off the pace, not be able to take advantage of the runs you can get with the CTS physics, especially on that compact grid.
Absolutely, and you know, we also got to think about this, Seth. This is not going to be broken into segments. There's no break, no special incentive or anything, a reimbursement or nothing. This is green flag to the end, cautions obviously in between, but still really chaotic. If you have a damaged car, you are going to be in the way, and you got to make something happen. Hey, you might get your lap back, you might be able to still be able to pay someone and be lucky, which we saw before. We saw them wreck on the last lap before, remember that.
We did indeed. Now last week, there were 26 drivers locked into the field. 3 drivers had to race their way in through the All-Star Open. We ended up having Bernie Mobbs win the first segment, Tim Knopfsker won the second segment, and an incredible finish that saw 7 drivers finish within 5 car lengths of each other. The final segment was won by Milt Surratt, and he is tonight's in-race reporter. Milt, Jess, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. Do you have us?
Hey guys, how are you?
Well, we're doing great. I can only imagine how you're feeling, locking yourself here into this All-Star Race field after that exciting finish last week. What's the strategy now that you've got yourself into this field? Is it work your way up to the front as quickly as possible, or are you going to kind of ride here in the first half of this race?
I'm definitely going to ride. This track tends to have a little bit of gotchas where a lot of accidents happened on Thursday.
Now, based on how this track is with the tires, Mel, would you rather ride up the high line and try to conserve your tires, or do you think the best place to be is the bottom? I mean, we've seen during like other tracks, most of the time it's always the middle, but we all know that if you want to save tires, you got to go up high, but to make something happen, you got to go on that bottom.
No, that's a great question, Jessica. That definitely is what I did Thursday night. I rode the high line to conserve tires, and it worked until near the end of the race, and then I had to go low to catch everybody.
Just about everybody in the field here tonight, with the exception of yourself and the other 2 that locked themselves in with the Open last week, are taking to this racetrack tonight for the first time, realizing the setup and race conditions, preparing for this 140-lapper. Do you feel like yourself, Mobbs, and Knopfsker have a little bit of an edge on the rest of the field since you were able to experience the race conditions last week?
Yeah, I would say we have a little bit of an edge, but we're also racing against a lot of all-stars that got in on the driving prior to the Open.
Now, I'm curious about something else. Did they say in the drivers' meeting that you will have to merge on the backstretch, or are you allowed to merge in turn 1 where the game tells you to?
You can merge as soon as they tell you to. I don't advise it at all. I'm going to come on the backstretch every time. Otherwise, it could cause a big melee.
I noticed that. I almost got myself wrecked in practice. Right there, someone almost came up and wrecked me in turn 1.
Yeah, it's not advisable, and that's what was warned in the drivers' meeting.
Milt, obviously, once again, congratulations on making it into the field. Best of luck to you here tonight. Going to be a long one. Pace yourself.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
And I'll see you next week, definitely, Milt, for start of the next season.
Oh, yeah, back to tally.
Yeah. All right, see you, Milt. Good luck.
Thanks.
Of course, here tonight as well, as we mentioned, this is the Speedway-style version of the All-Star race. And it's interesting, too, because normally, if you have leagues and you have an all-star race, they go back to just the previous season of the drivers that lock themselves in with the criteria. Not here. They actually just finished up their 53rd season in the respective series, but they're going all the way back to seasons 52 and 51 of drivers that either had wins in the Speedway races, which would include Barebones, the Aero 88, and the Winston Cup series, and also the championships and segment winners of those respective series.
Yeah, and the list that they comprise of winners and champions or in segment stuff, quite impressive. So, and I'm not going to go through all of them at this moment because there's so many of them, but some names that we have to look at: Glenn Harris, Dave Melson, Dante Ricky, but I don't think Dante's in the field tonight, unfortunately. Jeremy Jeffries, Robert Balcom, good to see him again, being able to be up here and race. Benoit Floyd, he's in this too, Seth. Andre Ray, Frank Rivard. I'm not sure if everyone's here tonight, but we got some decent names, and a lot of these names, like the group of Glenn Harris, Benoit Floyd, Jack Basalt, Andre Ray, and Frank Rivard. These guys, they play it careful. We see it every single time. They play it careful and they put themselves in position. Like we saw, what was it, Seth? 2 seasons ago when we were broadcasting, they come down when nobody else is down pit road, and then they're able to stay out and lead laps, and hopefully that caution falls to where they're actually getting the advantage. So who knows? That might happen tonight.
And of course, those who will have tuned into our previous broadcast here for Rolling Thunder Gaming will know that there's a championship within a championship, so to speak. You got the Challenger Series, you've got the Charger Series. Those drivers that you just named off of Harris, Dassault, Rivard, Rayum, these are drivers that ended up winning those Charger or Challenger championships. I mean, some other names in there too. How about a guy that you and I are very familiar with? We've been teammates with him over in other leagues, Matt Watkins. He kind of burst on the scene in the Aero 88 series. And how about broadcast colleague Zach Freemau? He's actually qualified into this race and on the pole here tonight, as he'll be alongside of Jeff Supka.
And you just jinxed him. Good job.
I did, but you know, he's the pole sitter, so we've got to talk about him. He's going to be criteria of his getting locked in this race: 4 Speedway wins in the last three seasons. Supta, on the other hand, he gets locked into this one with 9 wins in the last 3 seasons, as they're going to make up the front row. David Day and Jeremy Jeffries are going to be in row 2. Dave Nelson and Chris Elliott in row 3. Robert Balcom, who has the most wins in 3 seasons, coming to this one, 41 in total. He'll be alongside of Jim Glaude in row 4. Matt Watkins and Rodney Sullins going to complete the top 10. Ronald Lucey and Jack Dassault, they're in row 6. Grant Wesley and Josh Metallic, the 2019 All-Star Race winner, in row 7. Chuck McClure, Tim Knopsker, who locked himself in through the Open last week, they're in row 8. Glenn Harris and Richard Martin in row 9. Andre Charest and the guy we just talked with, Milt Surratt, they're going to make up row 10. The rest of the drivers towards the rear of the field look like they're going to be Ryan Schilling, Dante Ricky, and Bernie Mobbs. So it looks like Dante actually is in the field here tonight. I just didn't see him on the telemetry there moments ago. So it looks like in total, we're going to have 24 drivers, 23 or 24 drivers taking the green flag for 140 laps.
Well, Seth, they're over in turn 3 and 4. The pace car's pulled off. We're ready to go All-Star Racing.
Zach Freemau going to be bringing them down here to the start-finish line. Going to be a long one here tonight. No points on the line, but a lot of pride. The RTG All-Star Race is ready.
It's going to be interesting, Seth, early on to see who takes that advice that Milt said to ride up near that wall and try to conserve tires early on, because with times for wear, I think, well, what did they go, Seth? About 30, what was it, 20, 30 laps?
That was non-fuel. Yeah, about 30 laps is about the target number you can go on a tank. That means that these drivers, if we stay under green flag conditions from here to the checkered flag, like they'd have to come to pit road at least 4 times.
And with that being said, they really got to think about, do you want to push early and then try to conserve at the last part of that run, or conserve early and try to push? But the problem is, if you try to conserve too early, everyone might be too far away from you for you to do anything by the time pit stops happen if we don't have a caution.
This battle here for the 6th position. Robert Balka making his way around Jeremy Jeffries. These two coming into this race, the highest number of wins in the last 3 seasons. I mentioned Balka with 41. Jeremy Jeffries has 23. Now he's trying to hold off the 72 of Jim Gloud, who takes a peek to the outside.
And the 72 of Jim Gloud, we've seen him be a threat up in that top 5, top 10 area constantly throughout the times that we broadcasted. So he's not someone we need to dismiss.
At a speedway race that locked him into this all-star event. Behind them, you've got a battle going on just inside the top 10. That's Matt Watkins in the 20, Grant Wesley 88, and just behind him, Chuck McClure in the 17. Now I mentioned the fact that Josh Metallic was the 2019 All-Star Race winner. We should actually talk as well about who the defending winner of the All-Star Race is, and he's running up there inside the top 3, that 11 of Jeff Supta.
Well, Jeff Supta, I mean, what track have we not been to that's been a speedway that we've covered that he has not ran really well at? Name one.
I can't name one that he hasn't at least been up on the front row for qualifying.
But with you looking up front, I'm looking back here. It's a little bit of a hornet's nest. Jocelyn position one to the high side. I'm watching Milton, the 80. He's still running that middle line back here, so he's right around the 21st position, just calmly. I think he's doing what he said, like he said in the interview. He's just relaxing, minding his own business, biding his time. And like I was mentioning earlier, so everyone's kind of pulling away. I mean, right now it's a what's the gap back to the line? It's not that bad, but it's getting there.
Up here from about 12th position on back. They're kind of settling it out. Grant Wesley, Josh Metallic, Chuck McClure get themselves single filed out. Tim Knopfster, who won the 2nd segment of the All-Star Open last week. He's now going to move into the 12th spot, leaving Matt Watkins battling with Rodney Sullins on the top side. And then behind them, you've got the 36 of Jack DeSalle, the 62 of Ronald Lucet, and how about that Penske-looking car, the Money Lion number 75, very bright on the racetrack there for Andre Chirestas. He's actually under fire from Richard Martin.
Absolutely. I mean, they're not just paying attention to their surroundings right now, who they got to run down and who's behind and stuff. Right now, I think they're just trying to be their own little zip code. Okay, you're not too close to me. I don't have a problem. You know, because you don't want anything bad to happen with realistic damage early on at all. You really want to take care of it.
Like Dante Ricky, he didn't put down a lap in qualifying, so he may have missed the start as well.
I saw him come in team speak, and just after they got green stuff, he just came in. So I told him that they just started. So, but he is on track. So if he's lucky, when we get one of those random cautions that might happen, he might be able to get back on the lead lap, being waved around and looked on.
We had 22 drivers officially take the green, with Dante on the track now. 23 drivers in this All-Star race. Dante currently scored 2 laps down, but as you alluded to, if we get some cautions, he may be able to get some free passes and get back into the running of this thing. As David Day, who started from the inside of row 2 out in front, has opened up a pretty good gap for the time being, about half a second back to Zach Fremont. That's another half second back to Jeff Supta. Then another half second back to Chris Elliott. And I think that these guys right now, they've all kind of... Are they pushing? Okay, I was going to say, I thought maybe they were kind of hanging back a little bit, just preserving their stuff.
Well, what I'm looking at with Zach and these other guys here, David and all like that, where are they running at in the corner? The bottom. We know that the bottom is tires.
Point. We'll see if...
That's what I was mentioning. That's what I was referring to.
That's going to be interesting to kind of see, if we go into a long green flag run, who the person is that's going to have the long run machine. I mean, you know, we talk about Classic Supta being up there towards the front in the conversation for a win. I'm looking here at the 018 of Robert Balcom, if we're talking about a guy that usually doesn't go up there to the front early on because he's preserving his stuff to make a long run charge, well, he's back here in the 6th position, so keep an eye on him the longer this run goes on.
Well, it looks like Chris Elliott, he's lost the, touch with Supta and Zachary now and David Day, but at the same time, he's also running a higher line. He's letting Dave Nelson pass him at this moment on the inside in the Wrangler throwback, and now it looks like Balcom's going to be coming and trying to get up underneath him, but I think Chris Elliott's just comfortable running that middle, the higher line, because he needs to save more tires, but I'm wondering if they pushed it too early, too quickly. You know what I mean?
Close. I don't know if he brushed the wall or if he was maybe just a paper space away from
I don't think it'll be any damage as light as he touched that.
I agree. But I don't know if that would have lost him any momentum or not, because he's going to drop back another spot now to Chuck McClure. Grant Wesley looking to the inside of Jim Clout. That would be for 7th place. And going back to your point there about maybe pushing it too early, I was looking there when the 9 jumped up to the top side and people were passing him. He was already running 0.7 of a second slower than the fastest lap he's put down in this race.
Balcom's already making the move to the inside of Nelson up here. Balcom is ready to start pouncing. He's right now passing Nelson, and that's for the 4th position. So Balcom was what, about 7th or 8th, a couple laps ago, and now look at him. I think he's done playing around now. I think he wants to catch these guys and try to ride with them because he sees how far ahead they are. And we're only 19 laps into this event, so pit stops are going to be about the next 10 laps or so.
Yeah, we saw Balcom, Wesley, and McClure all running nose to tail. Balcom has moved up to 3rd from starting 7th. Wesley now moving into the 6th position after starting this race from 13th. And they've got Chuck McClure right behind him, who almost was in a 3-wide situation with Jim Clout and Jeremy Jeffries. He's been able to work his way now up to the 7th position. Now about to maybe lose that spot, but he started back in traffic in 15th.
Yeah, back where you see Brian Schilling, Andre Caress, and Jack Salt, they're kind of jammed up here. They're trying to figure out where to go, what line to take. Some of them are running a little bit higher up, some of them a little bit lower, but it's like a give and take, Seth. And look at Chris Elliott. He has faded. He has really fallen off pace, Seth.
Big time fading there as we saw him up around the 4th position, and just like that, he's going to fall to the 16th spot. Again, though, running that top side and trying to preserve that right front tire. Richard Martin right behind him there in the 43, currently holding down 19th place. And then you've got some of these other stragglers back here. How about Bernie Mobbs? Because we know that Bernie has a fast car. Qualified into the All-Star race, winning the first segment last week. But he ended up not laying down a lap time here tonight, and he's kind of all by his lonesome in the 20th position.
Makes you wonder, because Bernie's someone who likes to be with the main pack. It might be that he doesn't like this the way it feels so early on, because when we get damage on and it's realistic stuff, for some odd reason, even though it's not open setup, sometimes the car just doesn't feel good until the first pit stop, and then all of a sudden it feels better or worse. I can't explain it, except I don't know if you can either, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like we get in there, we get tires, all of a sudden it doesn't feel good. Then we get another pit stop, we get more tires on, all of a sudden it feels really good.
And I was going to say, maybe Bernie Mobbs realizing, what the car is going to feel like on the long run, but that wouldn't really apply to him because with winning the first segment of the All-Star Open, as soon as that segment's over, he parks the race car. So he would have only had that one segment to be able to learn what the car does. He wouldn't have actually been running the 2nd and 3rd segments and getting that extra information like Knopfler and Milt Surratt had.
Precisely, and with this is not going to be a segment race at all. They're going to go from green flag to checkered flag unless there's talking in between. And so far, 25 laps down into the book stuff, coming to 25 right now. I mean, they've been doing really. Oh, we got a hitter. Who's hitting? Is that Milt? Saw a dark car on pit road, so
that would be correct. It looked like. Oh, actually, yep. He's just completed his pit stop, I think. Well, I'm not sure if he actually made a pit stop there or not. He's fallen a lap down. He was low there at 1 and 2.
laps down.
So probably did make a pit stop there. Seems a little bit early to be making a pit stop, especially with us stating that around the target lap of 30. And how about Zach Freeman putting the challenge here now on David Day for the top spot? David was opening up a gap between himself and Zach, and now he's closing it up. And this could be a battle here because maybe Fremont wants to be sure he is the race leader when the pit stops officially begin for the guys up here inside the top 5. Man, he's getting close to that left rear corner panel down the back straightaway.
And while that's happened, Robert Malcolm's backed off. I don't know whether he's fallen off pace or he's just decided to try to conserve a little bit, because he's all the way back now in 7th place once again, and he's under fire from Chuck McClure and Josh Metallic behind him. So there's a little gap between him and Jeremy Justice.
You know, a lot of times when I look to kind of get data of what drivers are going to feel, what type of race to expect when we end up having the green flag drop, I kind of try to rely on practice as Milt Surratt around in front of Grant Wesley.
Yellow.
He had the fresh tires, tried to make the move on the slower machines up inside the top 5, and saw it was going to be 3 wide going into 3. I think he tried to get on the brakes, and the back end of the car just snapped around on it.
I'm guessing everything's going to have a pit road this time too.
I would think you'd be correct.
No, so this is the last pit stop. We got to stay out. We got to win the race, right?
Go back and see what happened there. It looked like he got a big run on a couple of cars.
Oh yeah,
Passed
he
one
had
on
a
the
huge
top and
run.
then tried to
He had-
pass another on the bottom.
He had a huge run over on the corner on Supta, and he went to the very bottom. But it was like the last time he had a huge run. He turned to the left, he was way low, and by the time he tried to gather it, you know, when he gathered it back to 3, they were right there at him again. They had caught him back because he had backed off and making that comparison from the inside like he did, trying to make sure he didn't lose control at that point. And when he gained control back, it was just too late. They were already there, and he tried to back off, trying to make that corner.
Hard to tell from that angle. I thought Wesley made contact. He might have slowed up just barely in time. We'll take another look at it here. Obviously,
Was that
as mentioned,
Wesley?
I believe so. The 88.
I
Yeah.
can't swear that was. What is David Day doing? David Day's riding the wall down here.
Oh, if there was contact, it was with the left front, but it wasn't all that hard of contact, so Wesley might be all right. But I mean, that's something we kind of put back in the back of our minds for later on in this race, and the fact that how quick that 80 car was of Milt Surratt on those fresh tires. I mean, if this thing comes down to late race pit stops, think of what kind of an advantage you're going to get if you come to pit road or 2 or 3 laps ahead of the rest of your competition. All that time you're going to make up.
Well, you said Wesley, but what I'm saying is, from what I could see, it had to be Suka. I mean, Milt had a huge run on Suka. I believe it was Suka's machine that he had a huge run on off turn 2. And when he had that huge run, he went to the bottom. And you know, sometimes when you steer to the left, it's just really oversteering. I'm sure you know because you're a keyboard, or what they call a keyboard warrior set. But you know, when you go to the left a little bit too much and try to save it, you have to back off a little bit. And I think that's exactly what Milt did. He backed off to try to get a better entry in turn 3 so he wouldn't screw up, and everyone was right there at him.
He also had his left sides down on that yellow line, so there wouldn't have been a whole lot of grip for him there as well going into the entry of the corner. So unfortunately for Milt Surratt bringing out this caution, more than likely he will not get either of his 2 laps back here as the lucky dog. I would assume Dante Ricky, though, would be receiving the free pass. You see him pulling up alongside of the pace car, so he'll be going around getting his lap back at the 1 to green signal, so he'll be at -1 on this upcoming restart as he goes on by. Everybody was on pit road, as you alluded to there, under that caution, so it'll be Zach Freeman, the leader, Jeff Supta in second, Dave Nelson, Jeremy Jeffries, and Robert Malcolm. That's going to be the top 5 when we go back green. And an update there on Grant Wesley. Apparently didn't spend any extra time on pit road to repair the little fender bender he has on the left front because he's restarting on the outside of row 3.
I have to say that I think David Day was trying to get on the air because he was coming off pit road. so far to the left. You know that little I don't know what you would call it, like the little ramp side.
Little hill.
Yeah, David was up riding that. He almost flipped over too. That was pretty funny. But yeah, and then I want to bring up something, Seth. Matt Watkins hurt my feelings. Not running that Tetris car.
Oh man.
I know.
I don't think he had a Tetris car, as I recall, in the Aero 88 races. So, well, that's unfortunate. Man should have hooked me up. I'd have gotten him a Tetris car for tonight. Anyway, green flag back in the air here on lap 33 of 140, just around when we were expecting to have the green flag pit stop. So this caution, in many respects, doesn't really affect the strategy these drivers would have had if they were planning for a complete green flag race, at least not at this point.
And now Dante Ricky, I believe he's one lap down now. And with that being said, he's already trying to make moves around drivers. He wants to get up there, but I don't know if it's a good idea to get up there and involved in this. Wow, 3 wide back here in front of him almost, with Richard Martin.
Wide a little further up there with Wesley, Knopfsker, and Chuck McClure. Contact!
Oh, there they go.
Rodney Sullins, Jim Loud, Ryan Schilling, and now Chris Elliott hits the wall, trying to get on the brakes. Second caution of the evening here at Edgewater Speedway. That was definitely a 3-wide situation, and it just didn't look like a whole lot of room being given.
Seth?
Yep.
Just want to make sure, because you randomly stopped talking, I didn't know what was going on, you were falling out again.
Just checking the replay here, as there you saw it.
That was an awful impact. With realistic damage, I don't know. I don't think there's any unfortunate help at this point.
Rodney Sullins, wrong place, wrong time, as he kind of got sandwiched on the outside of the racetrack up into the outside wall. Saw rear end damage on the 62. I don't know how badly that's going to affect him for the remainder of this race.
It looked like, from what I could see, that just got really tense between Ron Louisier and Jim Loud. They just got really tight, and I don't know if Loud came up just a little bit, and that's what sent both of them around, or what, because we've seen it before that Bottom will push up, but I'm not sure if Ronald looked like he wanted to come down a little bit earlier, thought he could get there in time, I think, in front of Loud, but it just a little bit too late, you know, that front bumper barely gets to that hit box, and you're around.
As mentioned,
Nothing you can really do.
guys mentioned that you and I took the opportunity to kind of get a little bit of an idea of the characteristics of this track. I would say with the fresh tires, at least in maybe the first 1 or 2 laps of this race, you could kind of treat this as a super speedway, because those tires actually will grip on the inside line. And maybe that's why we saw those 3 wide formations all the way through the field. Drivers trying to take advantage of those fresh tires and pick up as many spots as they could before they then have to kind of settle in into preserving that right front tire and things start getting spaced out.
Looked like Schilling, Rodney Sullins, obviously Ron Louisier and Jim Loud. Let's see. Looked like Jack Tuck got a little bit of side scrape. I don't know how badly that would affect him. Looking to see if Bernie Mom's got anything, because Bernie was right there too. No, Bernie has
got up into the wall. He was on the brakes trying to avoid the wreck. I don't think he hit any other cars, but he certainly would have damaged the right side of his Doritos machine.
Well, the good news is Dante 1 lap down, he'll be getting that free pass and coming back around, and I think he should be on the lead lap this time, and I think Milt can get one of his laps back now, Seth.
I believe you would be correct. That would have us 22 cars in the lead lap and only 1 car 1 lap down in Milt Surratt. So almost have all 23 of our drivers back on the lead lap here. And obviously nobody came to pit road up at the front of the field, but we did have a couple of drivers pit towards the rear. Saw David Day come back down pit lane. Ryan Schilling, Ronald Doucet, Jim Loud, all the drivers that were involved in that incident coming down to the attentions of their crews, trying to get a little bit of that damage repaired. Only time will tell of just how extensive the damage is if we get into a long green flag run, as there's Dante Ricky going around and getting another of his laps back. And, well, I thought maybe, I think along the same lines as you, that they were going to have 2 drivers get the free passes here under the cautions. Did not see the 80 of Milt Surratt pull up here, so I guess it's only 1 driver getting the lucky dog per caution, so Surratt will stay 2 laps down here for this upcoming restart. Oh, correction, there goes Milt, getting one of his laps back. Okay, so it is 2 drivers getting the free pass here under each yellow flag. So they'll line up here for the restart once again with little change amongst the top 5. Remau, Jeff Supta in row 1, Dave Melson, Robert Balcom in row 2, and Matt Watkins will now be the completion of the top 5. Saw a good battle for second place, and we'll see if it happens here again between Melson and Supta when we went back green. Those 2 were at the top of the standings in terms of lap times during the practice session, albeit they probably had a little bit of draft to aid it, but as being up here at the front, they've got some pretty fast hot rods. As lap 38 about to be completed, lap 39 goes on the board, and we're back underway here at Edgewood.
And we got about 100 laps to go, Seth, so you can't really pencil in your winner yet, but we should also realize that, what's Bernie doing? I did see Bernie blink a little bit. Maybe he just dropped to the back to be cautious, so maybe that's what it is. But,
Tim Knopster, that 088. He's been moving his way methodically through the field. Started 16th, and he just took away the 5th position from Robert Balcom. He would have been a driver that had turned quite a number of laps previously to this one.
Bernie Mob's coming to pit road, Seth.
Could be an unscheduled stop for the 90. Not sure what this is about. We'll try and follow up on that one.
Getting tired.
David Day and Andre Charest. That's for around the 10th position. Very close there. The back bumper of Josh Metallic. 1 and 2. Bernie Mops is going to lose at least 1 lap, more than likely.
He just retired. He just retired due to a gearbox.
Oh, wow. So, maybe missed a shift or something possibly there on that last restart.
I got a report from Sean Prime. As he was coming out or going back to a restart or something and stuff, he lost 4th, and you can't run those races without 4th gear.
Absolutely not. No way you can. These cars get upwards of about 165, 170 going into the corner, depending on how much draft you have. And yeah, you need that 4th gear for sure. That's a tough break there for a guy that was the first one to lock himself into the All-Star race through the Open last week. Not going to make it to the 50th lap of tonight's All-Star race event. Now, obviously, you hate to see anybody out of an event like an all-star race, the prestige that goes into it, but I guess the saving grace is there's no championship on the line, there's no points on the line, so it's not like you're out of the running for a championship trophy, but you know, everybody wants the pressure off. They want to be able to go out here and be able to say, hey, I won an all-star race.
I'm watching Supta up here, Seth. Supta's right up in the high side, they get a run on the bottom, he goes to the bottom, he's like, I'm not sure whether he's purposely doing it, but he's covering both lanes.
Almost wondering if maybe he's trying to take away the advantage of the CTS physics, which will give you a good run on the car in front of you. Might be trying to break the draft and not allow the 3rd place car of Matt Watkins to draft up to his back bumper and get a run on him into the corner.
They are single file back here for a long while, so the first one looks like he's making a move having to do with Jeremy Jefferson.
Side of Chuck McClure. That's going to be for 7th place. McClure looked a little loose there in the center of that corner. I don't know if it was a neck choke switch or what. Yeah,
did you see that? Chuck McClure and David almost got in there.
Did we tell David Day there's no side draft in it? Because, man, it was as if he was trying to pull the 17 back. I mean, it worked. He picked up the position, but I don't think aerodynamics had anything to do with it.
Next battle I'm looking at is battle. Oh, whoa, hello. Jack Gasol almost got into Richard Martin back there. I was watching Ron Louisiana make a move side by side for a little bit with Richard Martin, and all of a sudden he started going down. Gasol came right up with a huge run. That's when they kill his momentum, Seth.
Yeah, and momentum, and Brian Shelley took advantage.
And And when you have momentum killed at a speedway like this, it's just it just ruins you because like you're fine, you get momentum, then all of a sudden boom, it's killed. It takes you several laps to gather up what you had lost to get your mindset back to where you need to go, and then it takes who knows how much longer to get back to the position you were.
Dante Ricci, who just got his lap back, he's kind of riding back in the 20th position. Looks like Chris Elliott, who had that right side damage getting up into the wall, looks like he's still up to speed for the most part. Everybody that was involved in the wreck looked like they are at least somewhat up to speed, still competitive. I don't know if they're competitive enough to get up here to the front, but at least competitive and fast enough to be able to battle with drivers in the mid-pack area as battle for second place is on. A couple of Supras gonna try and mix it up, and actually out of Chevrolet into the mix is Tim Knopfsker pulls to the back bumper of Matt Watkins.
Knopfsker, we haven't talked about him too much earlier. I mean, we mentioned that he was making his moves, and all of a sudden now here he is. He's the threat coming back up, Seth. The 088 won one of the segments last week, and now, I mean, like Milt said, gives him a little bit of advantage. He knows what to expect here. Meanwhile, there's been this big battle in front of Jurgen Jeffries with David Day, Chuck McClure, Dave Nelson, and Robert Balcom back here.
Whoa! Whoa!
They are really close to Nelson and Balcom.
A little bit of yellow paint in the right corner of Balcom's white and blue machine as now stack them up 3 wide. David Day in the middle, Nelson on the top, Jurgen Jeffries makes the look to the inside. He's got the Oreos car. Shouldn't he be the car stuffed in the middle?
Remember, he's got the yellow one, not the blue.
He does. Good point. Yeah, I just was thinking too when we were talking about Knopfsker working his way up here. We've talked about this all the time when we broadcast the RTG races, the level of competition that there is in all the series across the board for Rolling Thunder Gaming. And I think a telltale sign of that is the fact that drivers Tim Knopfsker and Bernie Mobbs were not already locked into the All-Star race. They had to race their way in through the open. I mean, these are guys that you would immediately check mark off as, oh yeah, they would be locked into the All-Star race field already, right?
Well, if any indication is out there, so we've had a lot of surprise winners. So, I mean, the competition's pretty spread out. You go to, and I don't mean to be biased or anything like this, I'm just an example. You go to a plate race, you expect to see Grant Wesley or, you know, Bob Sabanero, Spirito, Chuck McClure be up there with Tim Knopfsker, you know, like that automatically every so often, which you were broadcasting when you saw it too. You have an unexpected John Godfrey wins the race. It's even all the way out. It's just got to make the right move at the right time.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that actually were not able to take the green flag here tonight that would have been locked into the field had they been here. You had Frank Rivard, who's not in the field tonight, Benoit Lord. Also Chris Emery, who had 2 Speedway wins in this most recent season of 53. I believe it was in the Barebones series. So, yeah, you're right. A lot of surprise winners as well, making their way up to victory lane.
Isn't Chris running a race tonight in a different lane that's for points?
I believe he is. I believe he's in the championship for a series. 3 wide. Oh, out there, fellas, on this crooked D-shape front straightaway. Knopfsker into Supta. Supta's going to go up there to the wall, and just like that, he's free falling outside of the top
And David
10.
Day is looking on Robert Malcolm now. And now he wants to get to the high side. I'm not sure what David Day's thinking here. I thought he was going to capitalize on that, but now they're side by side. And Chuck McClure goes right in. Oh my gosh, almost 3 wide between those 3.
That was close as Chuck McClure was trying to tuck up in front of David Day. Now, Knopfsker. That was amazing. I don't know if he thought he was going to hit the wall or what, but that was a quick turn to the left. And bear in mind for David Day, he restarted back around the 16th position. He came to pit road at the last caution to put some fresh tires on. There's no limits to the amount of tires
Lead
that
change.
have here tonight.
Lead change, Seth.
Matt Watkins looks to the inside of Zach Fremau, who just moments ago jumped to the top of the leaderboard in most laps led. 29th lap over David Day's 28th this evening, but Matt Watkins is going to take a turn out in front for the first time tonight in the All-Star race.
And Robert Balcom looking to follow him too underneath Zach Fremau. But Seth, remember, this is an all-star race. We've seen these guys race really hard, really aggressive, and normal racing. But there's no points on the line, no championship tonight. There's nothing but pride and to be able to sit there and say you won the All-Star race or an All-Star race. So with that being said, I'm curious if this is actually more of an incentive.
Yeah, it gives these guys a little bit more of a cushion to be able to be a little bit more aggressive than they normally would be because there's not really any repercussions. You know that you're going to either bring home the trophy or bring home the steering wheel if you make a move for the race win. There's the 80 of Mil Surratt, who is on pit road yet again.
What did you say? Is there repercussions?
Well, okay, so...
Okay, I'll remember that when I race.
Okay, yes. All-star races, special events like that, absolutely. I mean, why would you not go into a race like that with that mentality?
So what you're saying is if you wreck me in a special event, it's just because
That's exactly right.
Okay.
I'm not myself.
Alright.
Here's a battle for the 4th position. David Day and Jeremy Jeffries, and we're starting to see those tires going away. We also, when I just saw the 80 of Surratt on pit road, we're closing into that window where these guys might start thinking about coming to pit lane, because remember, we had those drivers stay out under that one caution, so they've only got about maybe 4 or 5 more laps to go.
Remember, they first started to come on. They went back to green around 32, 33, but we had that caution a couple laps later, so I expect to see them probably in about 5, 10 laps coming in. Looks like Zach Freeman's coming on.
I would not be surprised about that as he was starting to free fall through the field after losing the top spot. Andre Charest.
And Oscar's a lap down.
He would have been on pit road as well. Yes, he was on pit road the lap before.
Oh boy, they're getting really aggressive. Here comes David Dare on the outside of Chuck McClure now with Falcon. Oh, they're pitting.
Watkins is in.
Whoa!
No! McClure into the back of Watkins. Everybody's scattering, some having to commit to pit road, which is closed.
Now, this is going to be really hectic when it comes to a caution during pit stops because people have already committed to pitting versus getting to their stall. So I wonder what the deal is going to be with that. We've seen that happen over there at the Tabley Challenge and how confusing that can get.
Well, there you see right there. Metallic passes through. Supta passes through. Assault, Matt Watkins, they're all going to pass through pit road or not going to take service. That would avoid them getting a black flag for taking service under a closed pit road. There were a couple of drivers that I think did make it on pit lane just before it was closed. And I think they were able to take service. We'll try and figure out who those were, but we knew pit road was going to be an issue, and right there you had about 2 or 3 drivers that were nose to tail trying to come to pit road altogether.
Seth, I want you to think about this one thing. Who pit before that caution? Who was up near the front that fell back? That's Zach Freeman.
Good point.
And look who's the only car that's still out there now after making that pit stop besides Mill. That's a couple laps down. Zach Freeman.
Freeman, I think, was still on the lead lap, too.
Yeah,
After he made the pit
and
stop.
that's what I'm regarding. Now he's going to be in a really prime position to get that lead back. And it looks like Rodney Sullins has officially retired from the race up.
Jump right there for Rodney as there's a look there at the contact. McClure into Matt Watkins. A couple of drivers there were able to pull their cars back up to the right side of the commitment cone. Jeremy Jeffries was one of them, so they didn't have to worry about losing the track position or having to just pass through pit road. And this caution is going to be a big break for Tim Nofsker as well, who had lost a lap with his green flag pit stop. He is in line for one of the lucky dogs. I believe Andre Charest is in line for the second one.
I see that Charest is at 114, so I guess he did get a lap back already. If that's the case, Seth, I mean, if Andre is getting a lap back and so is Nofsker, I'm really worried about Supta there because Supta was a really good car up near the front, and now he's going to be trapped a lap down if all is being said, like you're saying, with Charest being a lap down.
All right, so I'm going to amend what I said just based on the way they're running right now. It looks like the 75 of Andre Charest, he had to line up behind the pace car, but he is running ahead of race leader Zach Fremont. So I would assume that he is right now scored on the lead lap. He would be able to go around to the tail end of the field, and then it would be Novsker and Supta that would get the 2 lucky dogs. We'll get the confirmation on that, obviously, but it looks like right now we would end up having one driver already scored in the lead lap, and then the 088 and the 11 would get the free passes. I'm not certain. I would think that the reason that the 38 of Rodney Sullins is out of this race, saw him get squeezed up into the wall in the earlier caution. Maybe that car just too damaged to continue on, too damaged to be competitive, and so Sullins taking the left-hand turn to the garage area.
I got confirmation that Perez wave around, and Novsker and Supta, I believe. Sean just said that they were the beneficiaries of the lucky dog set.
Like Milt Surratt in the 80 also went around and got a lap back.
Unless it was Milt. I'm not really sure. Let me double check that.
At the 1 to green here, it said Supta was back on pit road. He was, along with Chuck McClure. I think the 11 is still going to be a lap down right now. I don't think he'll catch up in time to be able to go around and get his lap back. Yeah, pace car is hitting pit road. We're going back green here. So Supta's actually going to be trapped 1 lap down here, still to the race leaders. As we're closing in on halfway, 2 laps away from halfway here in the All-Star race. Fremont, who's led 31 laps tonight. David Day, who's led 28, goes back with the green flag.
Apparently Supta ran out of fuel and he had to come back in. That's what the problem was.
Break there for Jeff Supta. His race is not over though. He is only 1 lap down. Next driver behind him, Milt Surratt, is 2 laps down. So Supta, if he were able to get a caution here, he'd be back on the lead lap and be able to try and make forward progress back up through the field once again. Look at how the caution changed up this top 10 though. We've now got Brian Sherman up here in the 5th position. Ronald Lucet, who was involved back in that 2nd caution of the evening, he's now up here battling on the top side of Dave Melson for 6th.
And you want to talk about people, do you have a comeback or anything else? Louisier, 7th place right now. A little bit of contact with Schilling earlier on with that caution. Dante Rick, remember, he was 2 laps down based on missing the start. Look where he is now, Seth.
Oh, Jim Cloud! Loose off with 2. What a save!
Well, like you were saying earlier, Seth, it's an even field all the way across. Anyone at any time can get a chance to win. Nothing is said and done until towards the end of this race. Now, I'm thinking Dante wants to go 3 wide.
Yes. Elliott on the top. Keep an eye on the 20 of Watkins, the 088 of Nosker, the 17 of McClure. These were guys that were up at the front of the field there before the pit stop cycles began and that caution came out. Right now, they're fired back outside of the top 10, all 3 of them.
And you know what happens when you get a driver who is up near the front and they go to the back? They become a little bit more aggressive with us. We've seen that happen to a lot of these drivers who are really good, and all of a sudden something happens, they become more aggressive afterwards.
Other drivers had a good comeback here. Grant Wesley right now running in the 4th position, just ahead of Robert Balcom. Now making 3rd as he just picked up that spot from Balcom on that last lap, and he of course got a little bit of contact from the Jim Gloud Ron Lucet caution on that left front. Had to come down pit road and drop back through the field. Now he's back up here inside of the top 3 as David Day setting sail once again in that 5 machine. But again, let's keep an eye if this thing goes long green flag run, because back during the first run, at the initial start of this race, he opened up the gap back to Zach Fremont, but near the end of the stint, Fremont was able to reel him back in. So David Day, not exactly, it seems, one of the better of saving his tires for the long run.
And Chuck McClure and Oscar's following Chuck McClure, but it looks like Chuck is really dicing back and forth. He just almost, not exactly, but he almost made it 3 wide, getting around a couple of cars in front of him. So Chuck was up in the front too, earlier on with Matt Watkins before that incident happened. So you know Chuck is really good on these tracks. He wants to get back up there, and with that being said, he's going to have a lot to work with Belson, Jeremy Jeffries, Metallic, Falcon, and not only using that, you have Dave and that green out front too.
McClure was running in the 4th position at the time that he then was going to come to pit road with Matt Watkins, and the two made their contact. 2 wins on the speedways in the last 3 seasons, locking him into this all-star race, as he'll now try and make a move on Chris Elliott. That'll be for the 12th position. Up ahead, Jeremy Jeffries. I'm sorry, correction. The other yellow car, Dave Melson, taking a look there on the inside of Robert Balcom. No dice there. Now it's Jeremy Jeffries in that 8 that might take a look for 6th place.
You really have Earnhardt Jr. on your mind right now, don't you?
Apparently so. I can't tell one Earnhardt scheme apart from the other.
Alright. Whoa! Shouldn't have bumper grabbed off the back of Nostr, hit the wall. I think he hit the wall back there.
And he's spinning. Milt Surratt collected as well. That will undoubtedly bring out a caution.
No caution
no,
yet.
Still green.
Soup is out of the race, accident, but there's no caution.
Wow, so that must have been just towards the rear of the field when he and 80 got together.
I was fixated on Nostr when I saw the car of Soup, the front bumper, get really close. So all of a sudden it looked like he barely got bumper grabbed. That's what I called the back of Nostr. You know, the hitbox stuff, when you get really close sometimes at the edge of the hitbox, how it just bumper grabs and just turns you out. That's exactly what it looked like.
Race. What a tough break there for Jeff Supta, who at the time was a lap down, but he kind of saw the tail end of that spin and he nosed it into the outside wall, undoubtedly playing a huge factor in him not being able to continue this race 60 laps away from the finish.
You know, this battle back here has been going on for about 4 laps, and that's between Cheris and Blau back here, and this is for the 15th position.
And I would assume that, you know, the more you race side by side with somebody, the more it's going to continue to wear down that right front. Doesn't matter which line you're in, because neither of you are necessarily running through the corner exactly the way that you would want to.
And you're running harder trying to keep up in front of the other person too. Like right now, we see in front of them two, Dante and Glenn Harris, they're running side by side as well. And that's not helping either one of them.
Now, if my calculations are correct, and I really would like to see it play out this way, because I know it's an all-star race, but I love the fuel strategy races. If these drivers do run this stint under the green flag, and when they have their window open to come to pit road, I've got them about 5 to 8 laps short of making it to the finish. I mean, this could come down to years. Yeah.
Are you sure?
I believe so, because we went
Do
back
you need to make a phone call to Mr. Sanford?
Work the calculators? Absolutely. Whoa! Contact for second. Zach Fremont checked up a tad. Wesley got into the back of him. He had to lift. Now Brian Schilling comes to the top of the 3rd place. And here comes Fremont now for the race lead on David Day.
All 3, whoa. Nostr went really low and they almost took a big wreck back there.
Doesn't look like it. They all kept it going.
I thought,
it was
Sigma and Andre Perez. They were side by side still, and Nostr decided he was going to take advantage of the issue. Went to the bottom, passed both of them, got away from both of them, but they got really close. I think Perez barely got it tapped from Cloud. I'm not really sure.
Track, you don't want to lose that momentum. On the flip side, you've got to be sure that if that car in front of you loses the momentum, you're there to pounce to take advantage.
And meanwhile, we see McClure right now battling Josh Metallic, and he's got 10th, so moving McClure back up in the top 10. And the one person I'm actually impressed with tonight so far, besides Zach Fremont and Brian Schilling, happens to be that driver, the number 62. Ron Louisier, because remember, he was involved in that big issue earlier with that big crash that happened. And look where he's running. Right there in the top 10 comfortably.
Yeah, most of his damage is to the rear end of his machine. Looking at it here, you can kind of see still a little bit of remnants of that damage on that car, but it any way seem to affect him in terms of speed, as he still runs up inside of the top 10, just behind the 6 of Zach Freemount, who all of a sudden has faded back, and I think this might be an indication that he might be not too far away from maybe thinking about coming pit road, because he ended up being up in the front and dropping back around 6-7 when we saw him duck onto pit road the last time.
And that would make him up to what, 2 more times?
On my calculations, they're going to have to pit at least 2 more times. I just don't see here how you're going to be able to save 5 to 8 laps of fuel in the closing stages.
Zach, I don't know if Zach's moving out of the way, trying to conserve what he can, or whether he just can't hold that bottom now.
The drivers all took the green flag on the last restart at the completion of lap 68, as both David Day and Jeremy Jeffries got the wall there off of turn 2, so that's an indication on how hard they're pushing that right front tire.
Malcolm making a move underneath Jeffries, at least looking.
That must have been the momentum lost by Jeffries getting the wall off of 2, about third, so right now we're looking at maybe max lap 100 when these drivers are going to have to come to pit road, and as we said, about 30 laps, so that puts them about 10 laps short of making it to the finish with 40 laps left to go.
Absolutely, they're on lap 91 coming to 92 now. So Dante Ricky looking underneath Metallic. He's underneath Zach. He looks like he wants to get underneath Metallic pretty bad.
Pretty quiet night there for the former All-Star Race winner Josh Metallic, who now I do believe is the only driver who could pick up an All-Star Race victory or 2 All-Star Race victories, I should say, in the last 3 seasons, with Jeff Zupta, the defending All-Star Race winner, out of the event.
Are you trying to insinuate something like Mr. Joe Despira?
You never know. You never know.
What, all of a sudden Josh is going 4 in a row?
Hey, he could. Stranger things have happened here in R2G.
Dante going to the inside of the 39 on the backstretch. He's looking for the spot, and he's going to get it going into 30 stuff. And they're battling pretty hard in front of Dante as well with Chuck and Matt Walker.
Brian Schilling, Jeremy Jeffries on pit road. This has to be a regularly scheduled stop for the both of them, but it's taking place about 6-7 laps earlier than I expected. Richard Martin, Jim Glaude, and Jack DeSalt also coming in this lap. And look who's worked his way to the front now. Grant Wesley, who's going to give up the spot now to hit pit lane. He took the lead away from David Day about 7 laps ago.
Well, David Day inherited back from Robert Malcolm. The one person we really ought to pay attention to in this video is happens to be Falcom and Nelson, because we've seen these guys constantly be at maybe the front of almost every speedway we broadcasted or even ran in. So we really need to think that they probably already know what they're doing for their fuel game already from now to the end of the race.
Knopsker, we saw just coming off pit road. He's made a pit stop. If anybody else is coming down this lap, yep, Chuck McClure in the 17. Josh Metallic in the 39. There's Andre Charest coming down to the attention of his crew, and like maybe the 80 of Milt Surratt might have been pegged for speediness. He's coming back down pit road a second time. Here come the top 2 to pit road. David Day, Robert Malcolm. That turns the race lead over to Dave Nelson. Wow, 62 of Rod Lucet, hard on the brakes to get down to 45 miles per hour at the commitment cone.
Right now, Nelson is leading, Matt Watkins, Dante Ricky, and then 7 seconds back to Chris Elliott. But Seth, I have to pick your brain. Toward the end of this run, for like the very end of these runs, as we see Nelson and Dante come on, so it's going to hand the lead over to Watkins, I believe. But I want to ask you this: for the end of this race, the last pit stop, would you be more happier to pit early, or when everyone else pits, knowing that other people pit ahead of you, before you, that they might have an advantage to run you down, but your tires will be able to catch them back at the same time? But how much time would you lose staying out?
I mean, that's the thing. Honestly, I think as soon as that fuel window opens to make it the rest of the way in the 1 pit stop, I'm to pit road. I want to take advantage of those fresh tires, because I don't think anybody's going to be using the 2-tire strategy, and I don't think that it's going to gain you any advantage of coming down further into a run to take on less fuel, because you're going to want to spend that extra time on pit road anyway to put on 4 fresh Goodyears. So
But
I'm the earliest to
as it is, though, Seth, wouldn't you think that there's a better chance there's going to be a caution?
That's the thing. I mean, the race is going to get awfully spread out now. We've been able to complete our first cycle of green flag pit stops. We attempted it a couple of times and had some cautions come out just before, just in the middle of it. So with the field spaced out now, the likelihood of cautions gets slimmer and slimmer. I don't know. I still want those fresh tires, just based off of what I've seen, what the lap times are on the fresh Goodyears as opposed to 20, 30 laps into the run. I want to be the first one to pit road. I want to be taking advantage of those lap times as early as possible.
And now we got a huge line of really top competitors here. Starting Dante Ricky. Ron Luzier still holding strong in 7th. Dave Nelson, Robert Balcom, Oscar Schilling, Grant Wesley, and Jeremy Jeffries showing the way at this moment. But Grant Wesley, like we said, he's been quiet, and all of a sudden he's up near the front now. So we haven't really talked about him too much at all in the top 2 positions.
Right now we're looking at 4th place on back. There's Brian Schilling in 3rd. There's Wesley in 2nd, trying to run down the 8 of Jeremy Jeffries. And bear in mind, Schilling, Wesley, and Jeffries were some of the first drivers on pit road during that last cycle. This shows you the advantage that those fresh tires can get you.
And looking at the gap now between Jeremy and Schilling, he's got a 1 second lead, but then Novsker all the way down 5 seconds, 6 second gap there, Seth. So 6.5 back to Matt Watkins from the lead. So there's a group that's close together, and there's a group that's really far off. 7, 11, 14, 16 seconds back, Seth. So you know those guys are really hoping for that caution. But what I'm wondering is, if you're this group 5 seconds back, are you trying to push it really hard with these other guys trying to battle for position, or are you wanting to say, hey, stop battling, let's run them down? Can you run someone down in a pack at a track like that?
That's what I was just going to bring up. I don't think you can. There's not a whole lot of banking in the corners here. It's not like a Daytona or a Talladega where you play the numbers game and work all together to be able to put down the good lap times, especially with the fact, as we've talked about, that right front tire you building up the longer run goes on. There's a lot more lift time in the corners. You also play into the factor with CTS visits. You're going to get a run the car in front, so that's even more time you're off the throttle. I mean, I'm looking right now, the intervals continue to grow. About a tenth of a second between Jeremy Jeffries, the race leader, and this group that we're looking at. I don't think that there's any way that this group can work together to be able to reel in those top 2.
I see Balcom made it a little over 5 seconds down to 4.8 that time. I don't know if it's going to be any less this time. 4.7, 4.8, 4.9. So, great driver is starting to reel in them a little bit. Do you think Jeffries and Wesley and Schilling will be pushing it too much up there?
I mean, I think right now what we're seeing is the numbers game taking advantage, but that's with the fresh tires. I think the longer this run goes on, you're going to see that advantage be minuscule. It'll be down to hundredths of a second, thousandths of a second that they gain each lap, but I think right now they're just taking as much advantage of the fresh tires as they can, carry as much speed as they can into the corner with the grip that they've got. But being, what was it, about 5.5 seconds when everything cycled around, I don't know if they'll be able to make up that amount of time before we get to the next and potentially final round of green flag pit stops here. I think they need a caution to get back into this race.
You know, there's someone who is really concerning me right now. Two drivers are concerning me. David Day, way back in 11th, and Zach Freeman has dropped all the way to 19th. That concerns me quite a bit.
I believe was one of the first drivers as well to hit pit lane. I don't know if he had a slow pit stop or not. David Day right now mired back in the suspended position, and yeah, these are two guys that spent a good portion of this all-star race out in front in that clean air. Freeman led 32 laps here this evening, and David Day led the most so far tonight, 48 laps. It's looking like that may be the most laps led here tonight, period. Unless Jeremy Jeffries can lead the rest of the laps here in this one.
Grant went back to the lead up front over Jeremy Jeffries, so I don't know if Grant can catch him for most laps led or not. I highly doubt it, but Dirgent.
No way. This is only the 9th lap that Grant Wesley has led here tonight. Jeffries was about to come around before he lost the lead to complete his 11th lap led. And like I said, he would have had to have led every lap from there to the checkered flag to even have a ghost of a shot of catching David Day. So with Grant Wesley taking this lead, and if he leads a couple more laps, David Day's got most laps led locked up here tonight.
Okay, so you and I talked a little bit earlier about pit stops, right? You said I was out there in practice for about 30, 31 laps on a tank of fuel, able to still manage my tires about 70, 60%, right?
Right.
And you know, I was kind of pushing it because I was running all over the track trying to figure out which lane, etc., just to ride around in practice, right? 112 out of 140. That's a little bit less than 30 stuff. You gotta think about that now.
The window's open. You're absolutely right. We know these drivers cannot make it on fuel. The thing for me right now, though, is the complexion of the strategy has changed depending on where you are in the field. If you're the 88 and the 8, I think right now you're going to maybe try and split this thing in half. But if you're these guys back here, like Nelson, Bob, and Dante, Ricky, now you've got to stretch it as far as possible and hope that a caution will catch you back up.
Look at the interval. Remember, it was about 5 seconds back to Robert Bauer. They're eating. They're eating into it. Big
Last time
time.
by 3.7, now making 3.5 seconds between Dave Melson, the leader of this group, and race leader Grant Wesley. You gotta wonder though, is that the numbers game coming into play, or are the 88 backing off a little bit here?
Watkins randomly decided he wanted to join this party, so I think he just moved past Chuck McClure. Wow, I just about to say Grant Wesley.
He just picked up 2 spots in those couple of quarters, moving from 8th, now up to the back bumper of Robert Balcom, moved him to P6, looking for actually, correction, he just picked up 1 spot. I thought he moved from 8th to 6th. He moved from 8th to 7th around the floor, and now looking for 6th on Robert Balcom.
Just past the hour mark right now. So
Schilling, Jeffries to pit road. The window's open, so they're taking advantage of it now.
I was going to say, an hour into this race up, and we've had a couple of cautions, but it's been a really good, exciting race thus far. I mean, now we got Ron Luzier looking on the inside of Chuck McClure, trying to see if he can make anything happen there. I mean, I'm really impressed with Ron Luzier. But Dante Ricky, 2 laps down, and now he's up near the front and stuff. That's something we got to look at as we see Zach Bremow and Dave Melson. Those drivers up near the front, they're coming in pit road. And Zach Bremow has been on pit road for a while. He didn't wait and pit early this time. He pitted with some of the leaders.
Grant Wesley from the race lead coming down, and you saw that hot entry into pit road by Tim Nofsker. I think he missed pit road the last time by. I saw him slow on the front straightaway, and maybe out of frustration entering really hot into his pit box. I don't think he got that thing down to pit road speed. He was in the 60 mile per hour range at the commitment line.
I'm not sure if this is one of those tracks that even out the pacing coming on pit road. Do you know?
I don't. I honestly do not. That could be a possibility. We'll obviously be finding out the answer to that question if we end up seeing the 088 be able to stay out on the racetrack or maybe have to come to pit road in the next few laps. As Dante Ricky, as you pointed out, I mean, the way his night started out looked like he might have been out of this thing. He's now showing the way. Watkins up into second. Metallic now is up inside of the top 3.
I was just gonna mention that Watkins is there. You know Watkins. Oh, and Nofsker is in front of Ricky. They're coming down pit road. So does that answer your question about Nofsker?
Yep. Oh, and again, really hot coming to pit road, almost hitting that commitment cone, just ahead of then race leader Dante Ricky, who now hands the top spot over to Matt Watkins. So tough break there for the All-Star Open Segment 2 winner Tim Nofsker. Not the point in the race where you want to have a pit road mistake.
Watkins, he wants to stay out another lap, Seth. I mean, I don't know if this is a good idea or not, because these drivers, when he comes on a pit road, it's fill up the tank. These drivers are going to be on fresh tires, and with him being on pit road, you know how long it takes to make a pit stop here. We've seen him lose a lap, so everyone else is going to be right there at him again, and they're going to be on fresh tires. Yeah, Matt will have an extra lap, fresh tires or so, but I don't think it's wise to stay out too long like he's doing. That's just my opinion. I would have come in early.
And here's the thing, too. I think he stayed out the longest under the last round of green flag pit stops. What happened? It shuffled him from up inside the top 3 back to around the 8th, 9th, 10th position. He had about 30 laps to work his way back up inside of the top 5. When he comes to pit road, even if it were right now, that's only about 15 laps to work your way through the field. That's half the time. So, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this call here for the 20 machine. As those fresh tires, they are going to be running him down on their hot laps. Metallic also staying out. There you see the fresh tires.
Chris Elliott 15 seconds back, but he's staying out as well. So this is really interesting. We also have a battle back here. Grant Wells and Jeremy Jeffries behind Zach Freeman here. That's the position.
These guys, Watkins, Metallic, Elliott, they've got to probably be banking on hoping a caution comes out and they can grab a bunch of their competition a lap down, because I just don't see this as a race-winning move for any of them. This right here would be, I believe, a battle for the race lead as things all would cycle around between Grant Wesley and Jeremy Jeffries, as well as Brian Schilling, because they are the first cars one lap down in 4th, 5th, and 6th position.
We're getting close to 10 to go. When do you feel like it's time to push it, or is it already past that?
I think right now, this battle you're seeing between Wesley, Jeffries, and Schilling, it's time to go for these guys right now, because they know that when the top 3 come to pit lane, one of these 3 is going to be inheriting the race lead, and honestly, I think you want to be that lead car. I think you're able to control the traffic, control the runs that drivers behind you are able to get, so I think you're going to see Jeremy Jeffries and Brian Schilling really force the issue here in these next 5 laps. They want to do it while the tires are fresh.
Well, you said about 10 laps for the tires to start really having an effect, so will you try to be careful currently and then go for it, or what?
No, I think you go for it now, because when I tested out there, I was running conservative lap times, and it only took 10 laps for the right front to get up to 200 degrees. So you got to go now. While that tire is cooled down and you've got the maximum grip through the side of the corners, you've got to take advantage of it. But I mean, these guys are already nearing that 10 lap run, so maybe it's too little, too late.
Well, we also know that these drivers are really respectful around each other, but you also got to think about, hey, there's lap traffic. Guess what? Matt Watkins is the only one out there, Seth. Everyone else is from the pit road.
So Chris Elliott on pit lane, and there you see, this is not a pass for the lead, but that is Grant Wesley getting his lap back. Jeffries doing the same. I think Watkins is coming to pit road this time. We know that you lose a lap at least here under green flag conditions. I don't see how Matt Watkins can cycle back around as the race leader here.
I'm going to be listening very carefully over in any other league that Matt Watkins is part of, because if he says that he trapped the whole field a lap down, I'll say, yeah, BS with everyone pity.
Wesley right now would be the inheritor of the race lead when he comes around this time, and we will be 1 lap short of 10 laps remaining here tonight in the All-Star race. Looks like it may be a 3-man dance for the win. Wesley in the 88, Jeffries in the 8, and then not too far back, Brian Schilling in the 4, but he has a little bit of trouble here with Richard Martin in the 43.
Yeah, like I was trying to say, these guys will give each other room and respect, but it doesn't matter how much room you give. The lap cars with the draft, having to change your line and alter it a little bit, can really screw up anything you have regarding your momentum of the line that you're currently running, because then you have to gather that back up, have the mentality to figure out, okay, now I screwed this line up, how am I going to compensate in the next corner? Because for example, if you're going into turn 1, Seth, and you're up high, so you have to make a move to pass someone up high that's slow on the bottom, there's a good chance that your turn 3 is going to be a little bit higher up than what you want to do.
Let's keep in mind as well that RTG does not have overtime green-white checkers, we run the scheduled distance. It takes about, 3 laps, I believe, they were running under pacing in our cautions, so we're looking somewhere in the realm of about maybe the completion of lap 136.
Well, hey.
The next flag would end the race.
Yeah, we're looking at probably 4 or 5 laps because of the lap machines. Remember that.
That's a good point as well. Yeah, add that extra lap on there. Is right now 12 drivers on the lead lap. Zach Freeman, the last of those, and he's just ahead of leader Grant Wesley. And this has got to be a scenario that Wesley doesn't like because when he was out in front, had that clean air. Now with a car in front of him, he might be dealing with a little bit of aero tightness off the corner. He can run a little wide up of 2, almost brushing the wall the last couple of laps.
Jeremy Jefferson has a little gap behind, so that's what I'm looking at. There's a little bit of gap between him and Grant. I don't know if he's just used up all this stuff yet, or what? What do you think, Seth?
I don't know, unless he's got something in the tank here for the latter portions of this race. Let's compare the lap times. 25.275 for Wesley, 25.213 for Jeremy Jeffries. So slight advantage, maybe the draft coming into play on the straightaways for Jeremy Jeffries, but visibly the gap does not appear to be closing enough that the 8 would be getting a run. He'll have 5 more laps to work with this time around.
Well, you also got to remember, Grant Wesley has a draft with the driver in front of him, too.
He does. That's a good point. So that's helping him with his straightaway speed. With Zach Freeman just a couple of car lengths off of his front nose. There you see the gap is opened a little bit more that time between Wesley and Jeremy Jeffries. Grant Wesley coming into this race, 5 speedway wins in the last 3 seasons, locking him into this all-star race event. And Wesley started this race pretty far back in the field, 13th place outside of the top 10.
It was almost contact between Dave Nelson and Falcon back here running around with Dante Ricky and Chuck McClure. They're really battling back here pretty hard.
All these drivers here in this group realizing that they may not be in the conversation for the win, but they want to be that driver to cross the line in the 4th position. It's 4th through about 9th place in this group as McClure crowding Dave Nelson up there a little bit.
Caution.
And that's the race, I'm pretty sure.
I think it was the 5 of David Day because he's slow on the apron, Seth.
3 laps remaining.
Yes. David Day, I'm watching him going into turn 1. All of a sudden he blows up.
Oh, what a tough break there for David Day.
He tried to get down on the apron and then obviously kind of pushed back up while he was trying to, be able to hold it. It just brought out the caution stuff. So a random blow up for the 5 David Day, and I think that's probably going to end this race, unfortunately, because it was getting really good.
Would have loved to seen if Jeremy Jeffries had a last-minute charge in his pocket. But you're right, as we look here at what happened to David Day, there's just no warning. He tried his best to get it down to the apron as soon as that engine let go, but unfortunately just couldn't do it in time. Caution coming out and ending this race under the yellow flag.
Zach Freeman may not have won, but he still wants to be in the shot for up there. You can see that he just wants it. He doesn't care about going around and getting lap back. He's like, I'm going to be in this.
Get yourself to the winner photo regardless.
He's like, I love the most laps. I was up front. I have the pole. I deserve to be up here too.
Race unfortunately is going to end under the yellow flag as Grant Wesley that time by took the white, and he'll be coming around to take the checkers this time. Jeremy Jeffries will be 2nd, Ryan Schilling in 3rd. Dante Ricky is going to finish the evening out in the 4th position after starting this race 2 laps down. Robert Balcom is going to complete the top 5. McClure, Nelson, Lucey, Watkins, and Metallic are the top 10, and those are the only drivers that are going to finish this evening's All-Star race on the lead lap after the final stint saw not 1, but 2 rounds of green flag pit stops.
I'm just going to say this, my feelings are extremely hurt. I expected Balcom to be up here, and I expected Grant to be behind him somewhere.
That's incredible. Robert Balcom, only 3 laps led here tonight. As across the line they come. 3 abreast there with Freeman, Wesley, and there's your Oreo. There you go. Yeah, one time, Jeffrey's been the cookie.
A can of dry soda behind him.
The race tonight here at Edgewater, though. First time I'd ever heard of Edgewater Speedway. First time I ever turned laps at this racetrack, but it brought about a very good race here tonight.
Exactly, Mal.
Did he take the jump?
Way up.
Did he take the jump? Yes, Dr.
Yeah,
Mickey's taking the jump. Jeffrey's
did.
taking the jump. I looked at this track and that thing on the inside, and I said, this reminds me of that super speedway of Escondido, that ramp. And then I saw guys like Balcom and Jeffries utilizing it in practice, and I thought, yep, I hope somebody is going to go off that jump at the end of this race.
What was it with Martinsville, the one that jumped in the corner?
Oh, the Martinsville jump in the infield? Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, we're getting off topic now. So Seth, just a little over an hour race, 140 laps. We had a couple of cautions. I think it was like 4. I think we had 4 cautions tonight.
Yep, total of 4 yellow
Realistic
flags.
damage. Unfortunately, drivers had their nights ended, mishaps, or engine failure, like David Day. Milt had a issue earlier on. Supta, Bernie. These drivers down here that unfortunately weren't able to finish. David Day in 18th, Jim Gloud, Milt Surratt, Jeff Supta, Ronnie Scullins, and Bernie Mobbs running out in the group tonight. But overall, really great race. I mean, this is what you expect with All-Star. It's really aggressive, really fun racing. We didn't even think about Grant being a factor until that one pit stop where he ended up bleeding. Remember, after like one caution, and he came in during the pit stop. That's the only time we actually started talking about him being a factor. Schilling up front, and all of a sudden he got a little bit of damage off that. Comes home third. McClure, remember McClure? He was way in the back. He battled his butt back up there to finish 6th. Ron Lucier, big crash. He was involved in it. Battles back, finish 8th. Watkins, I don't need to say it about him. You can say it if you want to, Zed. But yeah, I mean, there's Matt. The one hard hit that I see right now is Novsker and definitely Zach Freeman.
Yeah, definitely those two. I think you could also throw the David Day car into the mix. I mean, he was up there towards the front.
Drivers who finished the race.
Right. Well, I would, but David Day, Jeff Supta as well. I mean, they had fast race cars. They were up there at the front. You had David Day lead 48 laps. Supta put his car on the pole position, and just unfortunate circumstances for both of those drivers. And just to point your attention out to something too, remember that caution? We had the second caution where there was Lucet and Jim Gloud getting together. Well, 3 drivers who were involved in that incident all finished up inside the top 10. Wesley got a piece of it and wins the race. You had Ron Lucet, as you mentioned, with the spin, finishing in 8th, and Brian Schilling got a piece of it as well after he had some contact with Jack DeSalt and finishes in 3rd position. So even though there was realistic damage here tonight, a lot of these guys were able to come back from whatever minor damage or major damage, depending on what the situation was.
Speaking of Schilling, I'm going to move him up so we can start interviewing the top 3 and stuff. That okay with you?
Sounds good to me. Hey, Brian, it's Justin Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Oh, hey, sorry.
All right, so Brian, I mean, P3 here tonight. We saw a lot of pit strategy come into play there in the second half of this race. You were one of those guys that came down pit road early to take advantage of those fresh tires. Was that the call that allowed you to keep that track position at the end?
Yeah, for sure. And just good hot pitting with Jeremy there. Me and him coming out together there both times, and then Grant doing the same thing the following lap. It worked well in our favor, and it gave us about a 4-second buffer, and we kind of maintained it to, I think it was down about a 2.5-second lead by the time we pitted the last time.
Running joke over here. Brian, I know you as a plate track driver, because that's usually the only time we ever race against show whenever you're available. But I have to ask you, just for the giggles, did you give your Schilling motors to someone else? Is that why they blew up and you were able to finish? Do you have some type of a different motor underneath your head this weekend?
Yeah, the 5 may or may not have had one, apparently.
But anyway, like we're saying, 3rd place, when you were involved in that little fender bender earlier on with the 62, the 72, and everyone in that corner, did you get any damage? Because we saw you get like a little bit of a contact bump on that, but don't know how significant it was for you.
I got something somewhere. I don't know where exactly, but it did say I had damage, and all I did was brush the wall later in the race, and obviously it compounded that. So, yeah, it was minor, but yeah, it was there.
Now, obviously, we mentioned here tonight that even though you're driving the Xfinity cars in this All-Star race, it is with the CTS physics, the truck-like physics, and we know that that allows drivers to be able to usually draft up to another driver a little bit quicker than it would with either GNS or Cup physics. Here tonight, we saw, at least with the fresh tires, when everyone was bunched up, we saw a lot of drivers be able to get runs, a lot of 2-wide and 3-wide formations. But how difficult was it when that right front started heating up to be able to generate the runs, especially towards the end of this race?
I I didn't think it was too much of an issue at all. Making some passes, I just kind of I didn't push on it real hard at the beginning. I just let the other guys do their thing, and once they start pushing off the turns, you can get a run off, run off the turn, set the corners up, just run different, run different than how they are to give yourself that drive off, and you can set up the pass and then get low, get low on them going into the turn and complete the pass usually.
Still, we saw that pit strategy worked out to get you a podium finish here tonight. Congratulations on a great run. We're now going to give the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, thank you, as always, to everybody here at RTG, Bones, Prime, Jeremy. Oh my gosh, I'm missing a bunch of admins. Grant, Dante, Prime and Canon. Everything they do here. In the past I used to help out, and I know how much work it is. So without them behind the scenes doing everything, this doesn't happen. And thank you guys for putting on the broadcast.
That's Brian Schilling, P3 here tonight in the 2021 RTG Speedway All-Star Race. Once again, congratulations on a great run there, Brian.
Thank you, and congratulations to Grant.
See if we can get our second place finisher here tonight, Jeremy Jeffries. Hey, Jeremy, Jess and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I do. Hey, guys and gals.
Hey, well, I'll tell you what. I mean, we were really looking forward to seeing there if we were able to finish the thing under green, if you could generate a run. The last couple of laps prior to that caution coming out, though, it kind of seemed like the gap between you and the 88 was rather stationary. So were you just kind of lying in wait, waiting to generate something, or were the cars too even and kind of had the grip go away with that longer run for you to be able to get to them?
I was pushing it. I was trying to get as much as I could out of it. I hit the wall earlier in the race, about, I don't know, 2/3 through the race, and it killed my long run speed. My car got so tight after about 20 laps.
Jeremy, Seth and I made a lot of puns tonight about your Oreo car. So out of curiosity, I've dealt with your blue Oreo car, shake car. I've dealt with your gold car over there in Super Speedway Series. Now you got this gold car still. Recommendation, if you really want to aggravate people and really put them on notice, chrome pink Lady Gaga Oreos. They're actually a thing.
I have not seen those, but that would
I
be.
actually got a pack. I that was completely random, but I actually got a pack of those, so they actually do exist. But anyway, we saw you battle all the way from the back to the front. I think, what was it, Seth? Two or three times we saw him come from the back in traffic, didn't we?
Yeah.
But Jeremy, how aggravating is it trying to weave in and out of traffic? I mean, you know you have to go, but at the same time you got to be patient, conserve tires. Or were you not even worried about tires and back in the middle of that pack and you said, screw it, I'm going as hard as I can just to catch up to the top five? Because there was a moment where you were fading back and all of a sudden you're right there.
Oh, no. When we first started the race, I wasn't sure how it was going to go. So my plan was just to save tires. I was actually fortunate enough to see the open race because I was adminning, so I could see the tire fall off after a long run. And I knew I didn't want to push it hard at the beginning of the run. So I'd go back, let people pass me, and then about halfway through the run, I'd start picking them back off. wasn't really that frustrating. I would say it was because I that was the plan. I was more worried that once I got back towards the middle of the field, that an incident would happen. I'd get caught in it, and there was a time where an incident did happen right in front of me, and Grant and I almost were both in it.
Let's talk about another part of the racetrack that certainly played a factor into the outcome of tonight's race as well in terms of where the cautions fell, and that was, of course, pit road. Maybe one of the more unusual pit roads since you don't have anything separating the pit lane from the racetrack. But we saw drivers kind of like at a super speedway try to communicate that they were coming to pit lane. We saw a lot of drivers in big packs trying to do some traffic control of getting onto pit road and didn't always work out. How would you rate this pit road in terms of difficulty to get onto? Because you guys are carrying almost 165 into the corner, and then you have to back it down to 45 at that commitment line.
This is definitely more one of the challenging pit roads to get on. I'd give it about an 8 out of 10 in difficulty. If you carried too much speed, you were going straight back up onto the track. But if you didn't carry enough, if you saw with these green flag pit stops, people lost 3, 4, 5 seconds sometimes, just to the guys who got on it, a little harder and actually made it on the pit road. And so yeah, it's a difficult pit road, and it takes a lot of. You can charge in there hard, but you also have to have a little finesse to keep it from sliding back out on the track or getting into the grass. That little strip there.
Jeremy, quick question: how many times have you been to Edgewater?
In real life, 0.
No, I'm talking about like in racing wise.
This is probably I would say 5 or 6 times.
Well, obviously he knew what he was doing. I thought this was like one of those random, oh my gosh, we've never been to this track, here you go.
Now, this is a track they usually run more on like the Wednesday schedule, the Aero 88 schedule. This is one of the tracks that we kind of borrowed from that series.
I could tell you when I ended up seeing the announcement of where the All-Star race was at and I saw Edgewater, I kind of went, huh? Because I've never heard of this place, had never seen racing at this place, but obviously it brought about very exciting racing here tonight and almost gave us an exciting finish as well. We talked about the fact that you were going to be one of the ones to watch, the only driver locked into the All-Star race that had double-digit wins on the speedways in the last 3 seasons. You almost pull off the All-Star race victory here tonight, but still a great second-place run for you, Jeremy. We're going to now give the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout-outs.
All right, first off, since we talked about my lovely Oreo cars, thank you to Rodney Solons for painting these cars for me. He does a fantastic job. There's several cars out on the track every night that has his paint schemes that he's done. So just shout out to Rodney. Flatout Racing Network, thanks again for coming along and broadcasting this race. I've kind of missed you guys. I'd like to see you around more. RTG owners and the staff members, it's just great to race here. And to all the drivers, there's 29 drivers qualified for this race tonight. That is a pretty big field. So, there's a lot of parity, a lot of just, talent that races here, and it's a pleasure to be a part of it.
As Jeremy Jeffries brings it home P2 here tonight in the 2021 Speedway All-Star Race for Rolling Thunder Gaming. Congratulations, Jeremy, on a great performance.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Jessica. You guys have a good night.
I will aggravate you sometime. Wait, is it next week that the new season starts?
Oh, yes. Our series start Sunday night with the Triple X series on the August 29th.
All right, I get to aggravate you next week.
Thank you.
Pink Lady Gaga Oreos. I'd never heard of that before, but hey, you can get them for $10 on eBay.
I'm just saying, I randomly have this pack of pretty like little hot pink chrome wrapping that says Lady Gaga, and I was like, huh? Because I thought they were strawberry, because I know they've got like watermelon and strawberry flavor, and I thought they were just strawberry flavor until I saw the packaging. Like, oh. They're not too bad.
Sandwich cookies, limited edition. Get them now.
They're not too bad, actually.
Oh my goodness, man! I say this. I come on the air. It doesn't matter what race, what league. I always learn something new. Sometimes it's things I don't expect I'm going to learn, but I always learn something new. Let's talk with a guy that's down in victory lane now, Grant Wesley. Grant, first off, congratulations on the win, but you failed driver's school. Saw you go into victory lane. The pace car coming down pit road had the right of way.
Yeah, that's I tell you what, pretty cool track, huh? Pretty cool victory lane that whoever designed this track put in there.
Absolutely. It brought about some great racing. We saw a double wide, even three wide on occasions. Jess pointed this out, and she was absolutely right. It looked like this was very much a momentum track. If you had the momentum, you could pick up the spots, but you did not want to lose that momentum because you were going to pay for it.
Yeah, that's I wasn't the fastest car on the track all night, by any means, and I honestly that probably is what helped me in the long runs. I mean, um, but yeah, you're exactly right. It's all about momentum and being smooth. If you jump out of the throttle too fast, it'd upset the car in one and two, and you just had to be smooth and not burn the tires up. It's 3x tire wear, so and realistic damage. So any mistake tonight was very costly.
I have to ask, Grant, have you ever won an All Stars?
Never. Yeah, I'm so pumped. This is my first All Star.
All right, so what's left on your to-do checklist now?
Well, obviously, I still need that Tally Challenge championship. I got the
Wait,
bracket series.
No, you won one not too long ago, didn't you? You see this back?
No,
Nope.
I've won the brackets. I haven't won the actual championship.
Yeah, it was strange because when I called the last finale with Andrew, it was very strange to have Grant be the underdog driver since he hadn't had a Tally Challenge championship yet.
Well,
Yeah, that is definitely number one on my bucket list. Besides the All Stars, I mean the All Stars I'd put right there with it because they only come around, I think once a
twice
year.
a year. Twice a year, Grant. One spring, one fall.
Yep, exactly.
But see, you were at the back most of this race because we didn't even say a single word about you until besides the starting lineup. We said you were. I don't know when it was, but when you led your first lap, that's the first time we even talked about you, which was pretty unusual for us to say something about you that late into a race. And did you even expect at that point when you were in the middle of the pack toward the back, trying to, I mean, not like to the back, but you get what I mean, right? Going through the field and everything. Did you think you had anything toward the end of this race at all to actually stay up there with people like David Day, and you had Balcom up there, Watkins was starting to come up there, Jeremy was up there? Did you actually think that, oh, I should be able to be up there too? Or were you like, well, I don't know what I got. I'm just going to ride around and see what happens? Or did you know for a fact, hey, I can get up there. I'm going to push it?
No, I absolutely thought I had something for him all night. It would have been very difficult, that's for sure. I definitely, like I said, I wasn't the fastest car on the track in the short run, but I definitely had long run speed. So it was going to depend on how the race played out. If it was a caution fest, I was definitely going to be in trouble. But yeah, I felt like if we had a long run, I had a good shot at it. I know that first run, I qualified like 13th, I think. And in the first run, I think I made it up to like 6th, which, I was just trying to kind of position myself towards the front so I'd be in front of any accidents if they happened. So that was all by plan. And, once I was I wanted to be, top 5, 5th, 6th, somewhere in that area. And then hopefully give me a shot towards the end of the race.
Well, did you have any idea that Jeremy was like right there on your heels, or were you just more focused on where you were riding behind Zach? I mean, toward the end of that, you were right there on Zach's back bumper, and even though he was on his lap, I mean, were you trying to use him as a pick for Giraffe, or was that actually hurting you based on the tires?
Oh, I was using Zach up 100%. No, it was awesome. Whenever I seen him, I was like, well, because at first I was thinking, well, I need to save my tires, and it's sort of you walk a fine line whenever you're the guy up front, and you don't want to burn your tires up, but you don't want to go too slow. And I seen Zach. I knew Jeremy had a little bit of damage, so I thought, you know what? If I can just stick here with Zach, even if I can gap him a little bit, I knew he didn't have enough cars behind him to necessarily push right back up to me. So yeah, I was trying to use Zach to try to break away. I didn't really break away, but it was definitely enough to get me the win there.
Well, you were closer to Zach than Jeremy was to you, so I didn't know if that Giraffe was more effective with you and Zach, but I was curious about the tire wear.
Yeah, no, the draft definitely helped me out.
I want to jump back to early in the race too, because one thing that we hit home here tonight was there really wasn't a whole lot of room for mistakes because it was realistic damage here tonight, and one wrong move could take you out of this All-Star race. Now we did see some early incidents and we did see some contact exchange, but for the most part, it looked like there were only one or two drivers that really weren't able to be up to speed competitive after that. We know that you got a little bit of contact there with the left front. Was that damage that you had to deal with for the remainder of the race, or did it not affect the car at all, or did you not get any damage? Because it looked like visibly you made the contact, but we know that sometimes on NR, while it may register on somebody else's end, it doesn't register on the driver's end.
Yeah, I definitely made contact. I think that was Milt, if I remember right. But yeah, he went around. I seen he had some issues down the backstretch, and I was like, oh, there might be a problem here. I think it was three and four. And he started spinning, so I didn't know which way he was going to go. So I held my line, and he just didn't go anywhere. So yeah, I just kind of clipped him with the left front, but it didn't give me any damage, luckily.
Definitely lucky because it got him in victory lane here tonight in the 2021 RTG Speedway All-Star Race. Congratulations, Grant, on a job well done. 26 laps led here tonight, but of course, the most important one, that checkered flag lap to pick up this victory. We're now going to turn the mic over to you, let you do some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors and shoutouts.
Yeah, it's really good to see you guys back here. I really enjoy watching the broadcast. So, first and foremost, thanks to you guys for doing this for us. I'd like to thank Sean Prime and David Cannon, the owners here, all the RTG staff. We've been having a lot of meetings, and we've had a lot of participation with the end of season meetings, and we've made a lot of positive changes. And I just feel like the racing is going to only get better from here. I'd like to thank Rodney Solon's paints. He painted my car that I'm running tonight. He also painted the car that I'm going to run on Thursdays. So yeah, thanks to him for that. I'd like to thank my teammates at XFM, all my friends and family for watching, and my girlfriend Brittany.
Grant Wesley, your winner here tonight at Edgewater Speedway as he claims the 2021 All-Star Race here, the Speedway edition for RTG. Congratulations on a job well done, Grant. Go and enjoy this win, and look forward to seeing you go back to work on trying to check another one off the bucket list.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Well, what a race here tonight. I mean, as we stated, this is the first time we'd ever heard of Edgewater, first time we'd ever turned laps, but you just kind of got the sense, knowing the drivers that were going to be in this race and the way that that track felt, the handling of the race car and everything, that this was going to be a good race. And of course, with really nothing on the line as well, except for pride of being an all-star race winner, you knew that these guys were going to be bringing their A game and maybe just be a little bit more aggressive than they would in a normal point situation.
Absolutely, and I mean, I'm really curious to think about what would have happened if we had a few more laps. That's still going to play in my mind for a little bit, but you got to remember, we got great drivers in RTG. We got, like we said, Josh Metallic, Dante Ricky. We got Chuck McClure that we saw tonight. We saw Jeremy Jeffries up there. David Day showed. I mean, Zach Freeman as well. But think about this. Grant Wesley, we've seen him win every single thing that we can think of, right? We've seen him win in all these other series. I'm baffled that he has never won an All-Star race until tonight, but at least he can check that off now. But, I mean, you expect a lot of these big names to have already won these, And like we were talking about all night long, competition. It's a level field all the way around. And you may not think so when you get here and race a little bit, but truthfully, it is level all the way around.
Absolutely is. No doubt about it. That's why we expected the type of race we got here tonight. Action all the way through the field, but it came down to those fresh tires, the early pit stops, trips to pit road there on those two cycle of green flag pit stops that pretty much in essence gave us our top three here this evening, with Wesley winning over Jeremy Jeffries and Brian Schilling.
Well, it also came down to what we've always been worried about every single race. Every single time we talk about it. Being in the right position in case that caution flies at that end of that race, and Grant was in the right spot at the right time to claim it.
Absolutely was, no doubt about that. Well, folks, we appreciate you joining us here tonight for the All-Star Race for the 2021 Rolling Thunder Gaming season, the Speedway Edition. Grant Wesley, your winner here tonight at Edgewater Speedway. Jess, it's been a great one here. Good to be back here calling another RTG race, and appreciate you joining me in the booth.
I'm happy to be able to do this. I'm very happy to be able to broadcast for RTG. I am very happy to have you as a co-commentator. What I'm not happy about is getting alerted 24 hours early like that.
Well,
But
nonetheless.
Still, I'm going to hold that against you for a while. You know that, right?
That's fine. But again, I appreciate you joining me here tonight. Thanks to everyone that tuned in this evening. Hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday night. Go get some Lady Gaga Oreos. Again, they're $10 on eBay. They exist. Now that you know they exist, you got to go get some. But thanks everyone for tuning in. We hope you guys enjoyed our coverage here tonight from Edgewater Speedway. Congratulations once again to Grant Wesley as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.